We are here under the series called Beyond Boundaries, having conversations with experts on relevant topics. Today, we are here to discuss a lot of things for entrepreneurs. If you are a budding entrepreneur or an aspiring entrepreneur, or you're already a business owner, this episode is for you. With me, fortunate to have Mr. Murli, who is a startup advisor, Mr. Charan, a corporate branding consultant, and Mr. Sarvotham, a corporate law consultant. I welcome you all for this episode. In this testing times that we are going through, globally and domestically, a common word that we can relate to is risk. So today in this episode, let's discuss on risks and the way to mitigate risks for entrepreneurs from different angles. So as a startup advisor, Mr. Murli, I would want to start with you. How would you perceive risk and what are the methods to deal with it?
So thanks, Ellen. Good morning, all. See, when it comes to risk, I would recommend companies, whichever stage they are into, whether they are into revenue making stage, or they are into growth stage, or they are into uh, still yet to make revenue. I would recommend four broad things. One, to have a clear sales and marketing plan, which will tell you that, which will help you to where we are going to head up, where we are going to reach in terms of business. The second thing is operation side. Have a clear cut SOPs in place. See that every small operation in your business is well understood and there are processes in place.
True.
The third one, I would say, when it comes to finance, have a clear again plan on how are you going to arrange your fixed cost and variable cost, which is nothing but your working capital and capital expenditure. The last but not the least, compliance part of it, whether it is GST or whether it is labor law, there will be so many laws which my our colleague Sarvotham maybe in detail he will explain. You have to take care of compliance as part of your business. See to that every aspect of compliance is adhered to. So I would recommend four broad areas to take care of to mitigate risks.
Excellent, excellent, Mr. Murli. So when we talk about risks, Sarvotham, right? When we look at it from the compliance angle, when we look at it from the legal angle, what's your take on it? And what are the various things that a business owner has to keep in mind to address this?
Okay, if I may put it this way, see, the compliance will be subject to a certain set of laws. That
Yeah.
means whether you adhere to the provisions of law or not. So that's the question here. And we are not in a political environment where the business laws are going to change overnight.
Yeah.
So it is all steady, and we have reached the stage where we can now target to reach the third stage at the global GDP level and becoming a developed country status and all that. So, with that being said, I don't think we are in a stage where the laws are going to change overnight and will become Dubai or Singapore and things are going to get eased and all that. So, but at the same time, uh, uh, the current status of laws which are currently applicable to business, whether there are certain laws which are applicable across the platform, and there are certain sectoral laws subject to where you operate. So there are sectoral laws and there are certain laws which are otherwise applicable to every company.
Correct.
So these compliances are something which is a decision that the business has to take. For example, if there is a mismanagement, financial mismanagement, it is a decision that the management has taken. So if they really want to play around with the books and launder money that happened in case of Jinsal, it was siphoned off to their personal account. So it was a deliberate decision made by the management.
Yeah.
Whether the promoters or the founders come to know about it, or somebody within the two or three levels below the board that somebody does, it really doesn't matter because it's the public money which is involved. So So that is one. I would always say the finance and compliance are a decision that the management has to take rather than this has to be seen as a risk. Insurance
Got it.
can be seen as a mitigation tool, but otherwise, there are other tools, but there is no tool for decisions made by the business. So that way we will have to be careful, but otherwise, I don't think we are in a stage where it is not possible for us to run a business in this country. But at the same time, I would also say we are not equivalent to Dubai or Singapore, which is a business hub, global business hub. But better late than never, we may target to reach there sometime. It is possible.
Okay, okay, got it. I mean, Charan, talking about branding, brand positioning for a company, the way the risk is perceived from a branding perspective is very, very different, and not many people are aware of it. No, can you please throw some light on
See,
risk associated with branding?
so good afternoon, everybody. To Murli, Ellen, and Sarvotham. Glad to be a part of this wonderful panel. And risk is a very interesting topic. And as you rightly said, the risk associated with branding is something which people are not that aware of. Okay, so let me try to put it into certain buckets. Okay, so one is the kind of risks that you are encountering as a category. So let's say if you are in a category of food business, okay, and the food is associated with something to do with healthy food. Okay.
Right.
So in that case, how are you representing yourself in that space in terms of your taglines, or in terms of your collaterals, or in terms of your advertisements? So it needs to communicate that space. And if you are not giving due diligence to that aspect of it, you may come off as somebody which people may not relate to, but you are the only person who think you are a healthy food company. So there's a risk that you don't comply to that angle of it. So this is more to do with category. Okay. Then there are things which is very specific to the region. Okay. So if you are serving to, if I'm just taking the same example as food, but if you are serving to a particular region, then how are you representing yourself in that region for that food item? Are you innovating, or are you solving a particular problem in that food category, and how are you communicating that? If you are not putting some serious thought into it, there is a risk that you are another player there who's not really differentiating by any means. So that is a risk that you need to look at when you're trying to solve the problem related to that.
So
There's a
you're,
third.
you're specifically talking about geographical positioning for each of the products that the
If
business.
your product or your offering has a geographical tone to it, or a regional specification to it, then there is an aspect that comes along with it. Okay.
Right.
Then there is a whole aspect of risks that comes with a brand, wherein, as today being a day where we are speaking a few days after a terrorist attack that happened in one of our states. So there is a question that people will ask with respect to the brands that they are very familiar with. As a brand, what is the stand that you are taking? There is a risk associated with it on whether you take a stand, or whether you don't take a stand, or whether you simply not say anything. So
Right.
people associate a certain kind of tag to you depending on what you do. So these are all the things where, as a brand, we cannot think when it is happening. We need to have, as a organizational standard operating procedure for the space that we are representing.
Right.
Like, given a geopolitical situation, given a regional situation, given a domain situation, what are we looking to go about doing it? Let's say, look at taking the situation of Karnataka government talking related to banning bike taxis. So now, if you are an operator or a brand related to that, how are you going to alleviate that to your target audience? What are you going to tell as a brand? How are you going to do that? So these are all the things where you need to have something in place. If not, you are at the risk of using the brand relevance in the eyes of your respective target audience, and that is something which you need to get yourself prepared upfront, rather than scampering for support as and when it happens.
Many times, we would have come across where if the brand is not positioned well, you would only be doing to satisfy yourself as a business owner, but it would not be yielding any sort of results in terms of revenue. Because at the end of the day, the brand positioning, the branding promotions, branding activities should have an impact on your P&L, right? So I mean, I completely agree with what you mentioned. So coming back to you, Mr. Murli, so we did talk about the various risks associated as a business owner. Primarily, when I am starting a business on my own, irrespective of whether it's a product or service, there's an inherent risk inbuilt in the decision itself. Now, can you please take us through some of the examples how we can mitigate these risks? It could be across sales and marketing, it could be across finance and legal, it could be across any of the domains that you specified. Maybe one or two illustrations would kind of help us to make the right decisions going forward.
Sure, Helen. See, if we say before we get into financial decision, I would say to start with, a business should do market research first.
Right.
If you are doing completely a first time, you are launching a company, you have an idea and you want to develop that idea, you want to launch the product or a service. As I say, I would say as a business, you need to do a first level of market research. Now, when I say market research, typically a large company does through large agencies like Nielsen or KPMG, and you have large companies to do. The immediate question is, how do I do at my level when a small entrepreneur or startup?
Correct.
So there is general method called guesstimation. A simple call, you guess and you estimate.
Yeah.
Okay. So recently, I was in the last 1 year, I've been consulting a company which is into healthcare,
Okay.
Ayurveda hospital. Now, if you say Ayurveda hospital, there are so many Ayurveda hospitals. So many Ayurveda doctors are practicing as under clinic, or there are so many wellness centers. They practice under Ayurveda or naturopathy. What kind of differentiation this new company is going to give? This is the first step.
Yeah.
And then, so immediately we'll see, okay, which location we are starting. Okay, let's say in Bangalore. So immediately you have to guess what is the population of Bangalore, Bangalore city, let's say. And within that, let's say roughly about a crore is the population. And then you go and estimate that how many doctors are available right now, right? And so you find a ratio between doctor and population ratio.
Yeah.
What are all the different diseases prevailing? So are you going into getting into a disease which is a preventive, say let's say lifestyle diseases like diabetic or BP pressure, like, I mean any of this lifestyle related issues. So you will decide first the population, then you will say what is the number of doctors available. Then you say can you do any specialization, and what are all the present setup, what are all the infrastructure available, how many doctors are having their own therapy centers.
Right.
So like this, you logically you go step by step, and arrive your own market potential. And
Okay.
there you see, okay, now it's the broadly this is the market potential. Then you come, if I have to start a center like this, what are the fixed cost and how many doctors are required? What are the therapists? So you go step by step again. How much one-time cost you need? How much monthly incurring cost you will have? So then you will have, okay. Suppose approximately you will say per patient OPD is this is the fee. After that you convert certain procedures, this would be the fee. So you will arrive some number. So then you will know how long it will take for you to break even and meet the working capital requirement. Then you will
Understood.
have a financial planning. Now, if you see, you start from market research to your financial calculation, all other thing will also fall in place.
Right.
Okay, your operational, what are all the things you need to. So initially, you will start with the minimum, viable plan. Accordingly, you will start executing it. You'll
Right.
also put a timeline. Okay, to start a center, how long it takes? Is it 30 days? It is 40, 45 days. So when I should recruit doctors, when I should recruit therapists, the day I inaugurate, what all the facilities should be there. So you have a see whatever I tell you, it looks very common sense. But business is all about common sense and presence of mind.
I completely agree with you, sir. Just
So,
one important point which I want to make here is, one of one of the large eye hospitals where we were talking to them. So they were talking purely numbers, and he said, if I wish to start another branch on my own,
uh,
it is the amount required is 1 month's revenue of my current branch. So
uh,
that is the level of clarity you will get into by doing what you are
yeah,
currently
one
saying.
should have that clarity. One should have the clarity, and each area, if you say there should be a kind of blueprint. Okay, tomorrow I want to open a one more center. I need this much time. These are all the things I need. These are all the money I need. Time, infrastructure, everything. You'll have a list, and it is easy to take decisions.
True.
Suppose the scenario could be you are already a company where you have vintage of, let's say, 5 to 10 years. Now you want to launch a new product or a new service. The same logic goes again. You will do market research in your own way because it's easy. You are already in the industry. You know what it is. You will use your internal database as well as external database and follow the same process. Arrive a casting. You have a blueprint and then you launch. So when you follow this process, your risk is limited and your success rate is higher than what without hitting the market without any plan.
Got it, sir. Just for the benefit of the viewers, if I can just quickly summarize what you mentioned, the ideal sequence could be market research, followed by arriving at your specific target market, and around it working on your financial plan, marketing plan, and other standard operating procedures as far as the internal controls is concerned, and then revisit these at a particular frequency, if I'm not wrong, and this will give you a base for for any entrepreneur to move forward.
Absolutely nicely summarized, Ellen. Thanks.
So, Sarvotham, I mean, now that Mr. Murli has kind of given a plan of action for an entrepreneur, whether he is a beginner or an established person who wishes to start a new product service line, from a legal angle to this, from a compliance angle to this, can you give a couple of illustrations? I'm sure you're bound by the ethics. You need not pinpoint the name of the client, but couple of illustrations of how if one entrepreneur is completely following the laws of land, the kind of impact that he has on his finances, and most importantly peace of mind.
Yeah, actually, very well put out. Something that is very important for every founder to understand that compliance means two parts. One is to follow the law in its letter and in its spirit. I mean, spirit as in there is an intention of why that particular law or a particular set of rules has been made. And the parliament is also learning from its mistakes or learning from what is happening globally. So
Right.
the global standards are also implemented here, and there are certain domestic issues also that needs to be addressed, and that is why we have a particular law in place.
Yeah.
And to understand on how we will have to be clear is I can give you an example of one of our clients. They had used some poster for Krishna Janmashtami wishes. They had sent it out to all the clients and everybody who are associated with their company. Turns out 1 year later, they got a legal notice from the original owner of that copyright of the image. I mean, nobody knew. We see from Google, we download certain image, we put our poster, we put our wishes, and then send it out. But are we actually using it from a place where we are allowed to use? Or are we paying for these services? Something that we will have, because of course, nobody would even think that, okay, this could be a copyrighted image.
Yeah.
But then how did we solve it? There is a provision called fair use under the copyrights. It's under section 52. Fair use is where you use the copyright material for without any financial benefit. Here, the client, the owner of the copyright was not able to demonstrate how we generated any revenues by sharing any festival wishes. So
Okay.
that way, we had to work around on certain defense. But yeah, but considering cases like this, which are very minute but will have a bigger impact, because if that was the case and if the copyright violation was proven, then the immediate next action would be FIR, because those are criminal offenses. So
I understand.
the lot of consequences are there for every action that we take, and therefore to follow the law in its letter and spirit is very important. But I, at the same time, I agree it is not possible for every company to be 100% compliant under every applicable law. There would be certain lapses here and there, but that's okay when the company is 99% compliant. But I think government will also be very happy to take a step forward and say, okay, the 1% of non-compliance that can be ignored, or that can be let go. But
Or
coming back on
negotiating with
how
a
the,
small fine.
yeah, something like that, that is still possible. But at the same time, a lot of companies and lot of LLPs, they tend to finalize their balance sheets at the nth moment, and then it is filed, and by the time they file, it is 100 rupees per day delay, and they eventually every year they would have spent about 20-30,000 just for delay filing.
Yeah.
If you can actually reduce that, you can use that money for employees benefit or for your own benefit as founders. There's nothing wrong in using the money which is generated out of revenues. So those things can be, but over a period of time, if you can plug these loopholes on how we can reduce at least the delay filing, a lot of money can be saved, and you will feel yourself better and probably have a good night's sleep after you've completed it.
I mean, well said, well said. Yep. So, Charan, I think the next question, of course, is to you when it comes to brand positioning and also an impact on the revenues for entrepreneurs. So, every entrepreneur, as a part of their annual reviews, typically in the month of March, April, they work on their probably the plan to clock a specific number in the following year, and some of them have a linear growth, some of them have a non-linear growth. In other words, organic, inorganic is the right phrase if I have to use it that way. So uh, you know some of them would be able to go from say 1x to 1.5x during a particular year, between 2 years, and some of them will be able to go from 1x to say even 4x during a particular year. Now, how important role does a branding play in this inorganic growth? You could please throw some light on this.
So, Ellen, as you rightly mentioned about the organic and the inorganic manner, these two actually work together. Okay. So, if you look at it, uh, the organic way has a certain pace at which it will grow. Okay.
Yeah.
It takes a slow time for it to grow, because the word of mouth doesn't explode like as it much like when an advertisement or a promotion, it explodes and reaches a person. So when an organization is wanting to make a choice between, do I want to grow 1x or 1.5x or 2x, they need to utilize these levers of how much do I want to grow on the organic way and how much do I want to grow on the inorganic way. When I'm saying inorganic, it isn't a bad way.
Hmm.
It is more like it's more like a accelerated way through advertisements, promotions, marketing as a drive. So those aspects of investment, I wouldn't call it as a spend. Most of the people will probably think that digital marketing is a spend, but actually digital marketing is an investment which gives you a return in a very quick and a short turnaround time. So the difference between organic and inorganic is more towards digital marketing, where you spend something and there is an ROI in a short or near term.
Okay.
But when it comes to brand building or the organic aspect of going towards it, it is a slow process. The returns are fairly measured and slow, but then it gives you a very sustained aspect of bringing your brand a return on investment in a longer term. So people need to find the balance between doing this, and people also need to find a balance between not overdoing an inorganic way as well.
Got it.
So everywhere you look at, you see people also start to get into a brand fatigue.
Right.
So I'm,
Correct.
I'm over bombarded with, everywhere I go on the digital platform, I am bombarded with the advertisement of the same brand. For example, I have a brand fatigue with Zomato and Swiggy. Every time I watch something on YouTube, the ads that I get is always that.
Right.
So I have a brand fatigue that I associate myself with that kind of a brand and that kind of a promotion. So we need to find the right balance in terms of how much we want to invest on the inorganic way and how much we want to invest on the long term of the organic way, and that will actually contribute in a big way in terms of your financial growth of whether you want to grow 1x, 2x, 3x, or whatever the size that you want to grow into.
Got it. Got it. I mean, these are quite interesting insights for our viewers. But before I let you guys go, you know, from each of you, I would want at least two tips of mitigating risk for this episode. So that could be a good takeaway for our audience today. So maybe we can start with Mr. Murli.
My first tip would be do your research thoroughly,
Okay.
have your plan in place. So without homework, don't jump into any conclusion. Is my first tip.
Excellent, sir.
The second one is follow the process. Each business has its own process.
Right.
Understand the business in deep and try to stick to the process. That will give you, very good success.
Excellent, sir. Excellent. So you say you'll have to spend more time on planning and implementation.
Absolutely.
Great. Sarvotham, two tips that you could kind of give us today from risks pertaining to compliances and legal angle.
Yeah, so that way I can say get a compliance calendar from your professional well in advance.
Very important.
Start budgeting and planning your activities right at the beginning of Q4. I would say between Jan and Feb, you will have to be clear on your roadmap for the next year's compliance, because you would have known your activities and expansion, whatever that could be. You would know it, so better to follow it in advance. Second is again, seek professional help whenever you are getting into vendor contracts. ChatGPT and AI, of course, they will give you certain standard clauses,
Right.
but they will not know the background and the context of the entire arrangement between you and your vendor.
True.
It'll only give you certain standard clauses that will not help you at all. It'll in fact put you in deeper trouble. So seek professional help.
I agree with you. So ChatGPT and other platforms is basically garbage in, garbage out. So what you feed them
Absolutely.
is what you get.
Yes.
Okay. Over to you, Charan. Two tips from your side.
See, for me, I would probably want to give these tips to people who are quite early in their business journey or entrepreneurial journey, because I want them to learn faster, because the other people might have the financial capacity to invest on something at the decision making level,
Right.
but for smaller organization is something I want to focus on. So the first thing is, for whatever the organization that you are building or in the process of building, ask somebody who has no role with respect to your organization, your offering, your service, your solution, or your product, to unbiasedly look at what you are offering and give them a feedback of what they feel about it.
Correct.
It could be your brand name. It could be your brand logo. It could be your offering. It could be your service. It could be your service model. Put them into the shoes of a person who is unbiased, and walk them through an experience of what is it going to be for them in purchasing or utilizing or taking it, and take their opinion with a very honest way, that they are not here to criticize what you're doing, but these are the kind of people who know a little bit about you, but then they are in a position to give you a very good feedback of what is appealing to them and what is not appealing to them. If we always think that we as a person understand, and if it works for me it works for everybody, then we are setting ourselves for a failure sooner or later. This is one. And the second thing is, when we are clear that we need to really look at this, it is always important that either you decide that you have the competency by yourself, or you look at engaging with somebody who has that competency for setting your branding right, because there is no harm in setting your branding right in the earliest of your startup journey, rather than going through a lot of churn and then figuring it out. All the thing that I need to do was, the language that I need to communicate should have been set right, which would have made my product or service appeal to my target audience better.
Correct.
So always go about engaging with with person who is capable of doing that for you as soon as possible in your journey.
Excellent. So, if I can kind of consolidate the views of all the three of you, it all again boils down to planning, implementation. Uh, like Sarvotham rightly said, have a compliance calendar and also know what you're doing. That's an important thing. Charan, you rightly pointed out on the importance of having feedbacks, not after the product is ready, maybe during the process of trying to find the fitment, if I can put it that way. So excellent, excellent insights today. Thank you to all the three of you, and for all the viewers, we are going to have many more such episodes. Stay tuned. In the meantime, if you like this, please do share and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank
Thank you
you.
all. Yeah.